Hey, wow, so glad that you are actually sitting here with us today. And I've got an amazing person. My name is David Wygant. If you don't know who I am, nice to meet you. And I've got one of my best friends in the world, Larry Michel, sitting here. Well, virtually sitting here because we do everything virtual nowadays. But that doesn't mean that even though we're connecting virtually in so many different situations, it doesn't mean that we should not understand the person we're connecting with so we're able to develop a higher vibrational relationship. So, what I want you to do right now is I want you to sit down, I want you to kick back. We're going to be really precise. I want you to grab a pen and a piece of paper because you're going to have things you're going to want to write down. Remember, there's a lot of aha moments that are going to trigger in your brain. So grab a piece of paper, just pause me right now, okay? Grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and start writing stuff down because you're going to want to know how to deal with everybody in your life, from your partner to your boss or your employees to your kids. And what I want you to do, I want you to write down right now the people in my life who I really want to connect more deeply with. And then I want you to write this: if I only understood what they were talking about. Okay? Because today we're going to talk about energetics and how it affects your life. This is not a woo-woo thing. Yeah, we might go woo-woo a little bit. The train might come in for 30 seconds or so, but this is daily practical life advice with my good friend Larry. And Larry, by the way, is somebody who I met because we were stuck at a party together a long, long time ago. And I saw him in the basement sitting there, and I sat down with him. And the minute we opened each other's mouth, well, he didn't open mine and I didn't open mine. We opened our own. We connected instantly because we had the same talking style and we had the same energetics floating around. And you ever meet somebody and you just become instant friends with them, and you know that you're going to need to call your best friends up and say, listen, I got a new best friend and you're being replaced. Don't worry, you're number one, you're number two, you're number three, you're number four, you're number five, and number five, you're number six. So Larry's going to explain all this and many more. Larry, how are you tonight?
Wow, David, how long has it been? It seems like it's been 2 decades almost since we first met. And I
Well,
and I still remember that like like a Kodak moment. It was such a cool thing to run into you and then dive in. And what we spent hours talking. It was amazing. So, and I have been so appreciative of this relationship ever since. Although I'm curious, am I number one, number two, number three, number four, number five, or number
you've
six?
always been number one. You share, John, and you always share number one because it is, and this is something that I love to do. When I am with my friends, I dive in and I'm 100% present.
Yeah,
I'm not sitting there staring at my phone. I'm not looking and swiping and typing. I'm not checking my email or anything else. And I do that with everybody. I do that with my daughter. I do that with all my friends. And I do that especially when I'm out on a date with somebody. I do not bring my friendly phone along with me. So, yeah, Larry and I have had amazing connections and conversations, and we share the same principles in life. And that principle is connecting with ease. I think that's a good thing. So I'm going to start off with a question, okay?
sure. Yeah, please.
We had a lot of people. You guys are watching this for the first time, but we've been really in touch with what all of you are looking for. So once again, as I asked Larry the questions, maybe you can write down the questions as well. And later on, do it as a self quiz and see how your answer is compared to how Larry responds. Okay. So, Larry, I'm going to start with something that's really important. What are the qualities of a healthy, compassionate, and prosperous relationship? Don't go dollar signs on us, people. Prosperous means a lot of different things. So, run with it.
Wow. There are so many qualities, but there are some baselines that without them, all the other qualities are kind of, they may come and go, or they could explode on you. They can be great for a while, like great sex for a while, or good communication for a while, or on the same page, whatever, for a while. But critical qualities: great communication, honesty, authenticity, vulnerability. those need to be there. And mixed with that needs to be this desire, like an endless desire or an endless amount of curiosity about what's up with your partner. What's true with your partner. Because if you don't have that, then we go into the place of projecting, and that most often is going to turn out to be a train wreck. So if you have those, if you have that, that curiosity and that vulnerability, then it's an open door for all kinds of exciting, explosive, inspiring, prosperous things to happen. And it's also a corridor to deal with whatever challenges come up, because there are going to be challenges. There will be. We're just like, look at this world. Things are changing all the time. So there's going to be challenges, and some of them may be really huge, and some of them may be little. But sometimes even those little challenges, if they're not resolved, they become resentments. And when resentment comes in, that's a relationship that is eventually doomed if you don't resolve it.
Okay, there's a couple of questions here. I said the endless desire to what's up with your partner. And then you just said doomed. And it's interesting how I put those two together, because without one, you're going to get the other one. But I love what you said, the endless desire. And that desire means that when when the buds come off the rose, or we use something, as we're recording this in almost the start of fall, which is tomorrow, as the leaves come off the trees and expose the branches tend to take on shapes that look like a Tim Burton movie. If you look at the trees in the winter at night, you feel like you're being attacked by, Edward Scissorhands and lots of other characters. That's what a relationship starts to feel like when you go into the fall, because each relationship starts spring and summer, and you're just like, oh, God, I never felt this way before. Look, dude, you're 60, okay? You have. But it's really amazing when you get to that level or that point, and then you see the leaves fall off and you see the real person exposed. That's the endless desire to what's up with your lover and your person, because that's the real relationship right there. But what you're really saying too, if we cut the bull at the beginning and really was authentic with one another from the get-go, because people are so afraid to be authentic and raw and real. And the best dating advice I ever gave in my 23 years of coaching was just be yourself. And people hated that answer. Oh, I'll be myself. I just paid you $10,000 to be myself. Yeah, you did. Best advice in the entire world, because until you love yourself and you are yourself, you're going to project something else. And what happens is when fall comes, this tree is not going to be as scary as it once was, because when you're authentic from the get-go and the other person matches your energetics that way, there is no, something in the closet came flying out.
Yeah, it's exciting, David. It's exciting versus like scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting versus scary. And, and you said something that's really important, and you used to, you and I have been friends for so long. I remember when you were working with mostly men, and, they didn't know. A lot of men just don't know who the heck they are.
No.
And most important, they don't really love themselves. In fact, this isn't just a male issue. This is a male or female issue, is that there's not, like, without self-love, without a willingness to be, I'm not going to say broken, but to be a person who's emerging and constantly evolving and changing and growing, without giving yourself that capacity, then we're too busy trying to make ourselves something that never changes. And that's not reality, right? And it's also constructed such a way that it's going to fall apart on us. And so the love piece, the self-love piece has to be there. And quite frankly, it's the easiest thing in the world to get. It's the absolute easiest thing in the world to get, unless you've been programmed to leverage love for behaviors.
Mm.
It's what
You know,
happens for a lot of people.
it's interesting. You know, every program I ever put out in my life, I had a self-love proponent of it, and that was the one thing people skipped all the time. You know, because
Yeah,
they mirror on the wall, who's the greatest one of them all? It's you. And you want to stop having relationships where all your garbage is mirrored back at you, and you want growth mirrored back and challenges mirrored back at you. It's time to love yourself, because one of the first steps in loving yourself is that everything happens to you, for you, not to you.
Mhm.
You know, we all have things, you know, you got to look at it. We have health issues. We have whatever is going on, relationships. You know, why do you continue to be on that same relationship pattern that you've been on over and over again? Which leads me to this question too, is how have we been using love to sabotage our relationships? Because here I have not had that feeling of love. I mean, you know, it's funny, I'm a born again virgin. I've told people that, you know, I'm on my longest non-sex streak of my entire life, except my first 18 and a half years, and that really doesn't count. And it's all because I'm really diving deep into myself, because I want love to be love based on something that is in the present and not based on programming from my past or other things. So
Got it.
how
So
we
let's take like the next 5 minutes and let's lay a foundation that's gonna blow the doors open for people to look at their lives and their relationships in a completely different way.
okay.
So love, what is it? Right? This is the huge question. Is people are asking.
Wait, before you said it, everybody, well, Larry just said, love, what is it? What I want you to do is I don't do it now, okay? But write that down on that piece of paper that you have. And if you don't have that piece of paper, it says you don't listen. So go get that piece of paper and write what love is to you. And then listen to very precisely to what Larry says. And when you write down what love means to you later on, you'll take a look at where you need to start moving in a direction of personal growth. Go ahead, Larry.
Okay, so this is going to be simple if you allow yourself to accept it. So each one of us, David, when we got up this morning, when we woke up, when we opened our eyes, when we took that first awake breath, we did the most unconditionally loving thing we can possibly do. It can't be trumped by any other form of love. We took a breath and we decided, I'm going to do another day. We chose life. And at the end of all the various definitions and expressions of love that you hear people talk about, it comes down to one thing. Love is a life force. It's not an action. It's not it's not a set of words. It's not combinations of activities. It's none of those things. Love is a life force. It's in you. You are love. And there's no way you're getting around it as long as you're breathing. So those people that are out looking for love or thinking they're broken, you can stop looking. All you have to do is take a breath. You are love. You are love. You can't define it. Anybody who tries to define love is literally even either looking at the past and going, this is what I experienced, I want more of it. Or they're going, I know what I want and I see it in the future and I'm going to go get it. None of those are real. One is the past, one is the future. They don't exist right now. What exists right now is our very precious present. And in this present, we're all breathing. We are all individually a life force that's full, that's not broken. We're alive and we are love. Okay, get it? We are love. So stop freaking looking. Stop trying to define it. When you define love, then you're attaching a behavior or you're attaching a condition to love. That definition sets you up for failure. Because as soon as that condition or situation doesn't show up, you have a love language, let's say, right? By the way, in the love is a fairly new term. The word itself is no more than 5,000 years old. Now we know humankind goes back hundreds and millions of years, right? How did we possibly survive without a definition for love? Well, we did great. We got to where we are today. Now we have a lot of challenges because people are trying to define things and structure them and hold on to them so tightly that it actually causes challenges rather than opens for opportunity.
Can I add something to that?
Please.
We live in a furu culture.
Furu.
Yep. And you know what furus are, right?
No, tell us.
They're the people who know how to market and advertise, and they always wanted to be a guru in something. And
Guru or furu?
Furu. I call them fake gurus, okay?
Okay.
And what we are in this, and it's funny, there's two things I want to comment on. One is whenever, and this is something that I've always conveyed to people I've coached, I am love. And I am going to go talk to that beautiful person standing right in front of me, and I am going to give them the best version of who I am. I am going to listen to what they have to say. I am going to make them feel wonderful because I am going to give them back what I'm feeling inside. Law of attraction at its best, right? And
at the very least, David, what you're doing in that with that commitment is you're making a commitment to see them and reflect back to them what you see.
Oh yeah, you know,
and that reflection. I mean, when we find ourselves, think about this, folks. When we find ourselves saying to someone, "Oh man, I love you," it's because they see us, right? We're talking to someone who sees us. They recognize us. They reflect back to us, and what they're really doing is showing us us. And so we're not really saying we love you. What we're really saying to them, get this, we're saying, thank you. I love me. Thank you. Thank you for seeing me. I love me. And so, David, when you're talking about this experience, you're going to meet women and you've made a decision. I'm going to take the time to listen, to visually watch, to reflect back what I see. And that's going to be an incredible connection, provided you actually, kind of can get out of, some people have a hard time. There's so much looking for something that they don't do a good job reflecting, or they do a terrible job seeing because they're looking for something specific. But when you do what you're talking about, that person is going to feel an enormous amount of love. It's because you're reflecting back to them what they are, who they are, and what they're feeling is their own self-love. That's it.
Well, because I'm also, and I do this, it doesn't matter. It's not women I do it with. I do it with men, women, children, dogs, every single one of them. And I just really look at somebody. It could be just the simplest thing. Someone had a Cleveland Browns t-shirt on today. She was with her boyfriend, and I just looked and go, man, they are barely scraping by against those Houston Texans. I won't be too happy with them yet. We got this 5-minute conversation, right? Because it's also, I look at what's going on around me and I relate to people in their world. But more important, that is the beginning, okay? And that's what then it leads us to the next question, okay? That's, it leads us to the start of a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a 30-second relationship at the market, whether it's your next lover or next partner or whatever it might be, or the love of your life. You don't know what it is because you are taking a step. And that first step is the beautiful authenticity and loving yourself. And if you start on that way, you're going to have an open, honest relationship. So what is the most important factor for successful relationship?
What's going through my head right now is there are a number of things.
Feel them, man. Go for it.
There's a number of things. But I think the very first thing that we need to do, to make sure we do, because we get in trouble when we don't, is when we get into a relationship, it comes back to what we were just talking about. We need to see the person. We need to be willing to see the person and not project on them. What people have a tendency to do, most of us have a tendency to do, is we are looking for proof. We're constantly looking for proof.
Mm-hmm.
And for a great relationship, for even the beginnings of a relationship, we must stop looking for proof and instead allow ourselves to be surprised by the truth. Listen to that, surprised by the truth. It's like, David, you and I met. I wasn't looking for anything.
Yeah, me either. I was looking for a place to get away from the madness upstairs.
Exactly. You know, we were downstairs in the theater when everybody else was upstairs. I wasn't down there looking to meet a friend. I wasn't looking for anything other than taking a break. And the entire time we were together was one incredible surprise after another. It was serendipity. It was co-creative. It was really blissful in a way, right? And if you look at relationships, what are the most amazing things, the most exciting things that can happen in a relationship? They're serendipitous. Things surprise us. They're co-creative. We find ourselves in a situation, whether it's the kitchen or it's walking on the street or it's traveling, that all of a sudden we come up with ideas and ways to connect with each other, and it's blissful. So if you can stop looking for proof, which means you're going, well, they said this, so it means that.
Oh, God.
Right?
They texted that, and how do I respond?
There's not a win for that, right? Because there's already a belief and a judgment being made. There's no win. And I can't tell you, we both have coached a lot of men and a lot of women over the years. I can't tell you how many people have said, boy, I don't think this is going to work. And I'm going, why? Well, because this person is like this, and that means they're going to do that. And it means that this will probably happen this way. And this has been my experience in the past. And this person really kind of reminds me of my ex who, quote unquote, cheated on me. They didn't cheat. There was indiscretion, but which meant there was bad communication. So they're projecting all this.
Right. They don't ever take responsibility.
Right. They're projecting all this. And there's no way that the person that they're meeting, that they're going to see them or see the qualities that are there to be seen. In fact, they're not even going to allow their own qualities to come to the surface. They're not going to allow themselves to be expressed or courageously intimate. And we can talk about courageous intimacy because it's a key to relationships. It's critical, but they're not going to allow themselves to be fully seen if they're busy trying to fit this little peg into a round hole, right? And if it doesn't fit, it's not going to work. That's looking for proof. It's demise. Even when you think you found your perfect person because you could check off the 80 or 90 things on your list, God forbid, right? You check off all these things and you go, this is it. I've met the love of my life. This is going to be my life mate forever. Well, you've constructed it. If you were out there on your checklist, making sure you checked everything off, instead of just being present and aware, know that you love yourself, reflecting back to each other, back and forth to each other, evolving and growing through your conversation. I mean, what conversation can be any better than that moment that you go, oh my God, I never thought about that. For so long, I've been thinking that this was the way to do things. And you just gave me another viewpoint. I feel like I've been released from purgatory. Everyone's had that experience where someone will say something or a situation will come up and they'll go, oh my God, I can't believe how long I've held on to this belief and it's totally got in the way of my happiness. So we don't need to do that. It's really easy not to do that. In fact, it's far more difficult to be looking for proof and far more fun to be surprised by the truth.
Okay, so when you go that way, is communication challenge? The way I hear it, surprised by the truth and the gift, and I mean, however, I can paraphrase it all day long. It is, what we're really talking about is the freedom to give yourself permission to be yourself, understand who you are energetically. That way, then you'll connect to other people who are similar and like-minded, and you won't sit there and waste so much time overanalyzing somebody who is just the wrong energy profile for you. They don't hear things that you hear or say things. So is with that in mind, okay, with the power of energetics, okay, which is something, and all of you need to stay to the end because we're going to have something very special for all of you to check out at the end of this webinar. And it's something that I think you're going to want to know because it's going to help you impact your life on so many levels, just communications to lovemaking to relationships with boss and everything else. Your life's going to be so much easier. Larry and I are giving you some background stuff, and that's why I asked you to take notes, because everything will start to come together. So stay to the end, okay? So with all that, knowing all that, is communication challenging or easy? But what if you come up against an energy vampire?
Oh God, I love that term. Well, it gets used a lot. And the reality is there's no such thing. There is no such thing as an energy vampire. Someone's not sucking your energy out, not intentionally trying to suck it out and kill you and leave you dead and wasted.
Well, that's CNN, but that's their job.
Yeah, okay. So, look, you brought up energy. My background is all about energy. You can see it. It's genetic energetics is the science that most of my work revolves around. And we might as well just put it on the table right now because it's going to help answer your question, right? We all have energetic frequencies that we vibrate at. Now, this science, genetic energetics, by the way, how old is it? It is the oldest typology, the oldest system for identifying our ability to connect with people that exist on this planet. It has been around since the beginning of man. Since the beginning of man, we have gone into situations where we either feel comfortable or not comfortable with someone, where it's easy to communicate or easy to work with or easy to hunt with or easy to bear children with, whatever, or not, right? It's always been there, and we will self-select based on how that feels. Okay? And as we've evolved, what we've come to today is this science of genetic energetics, which is really, the science itself is only 40 years old. 40 years ago, we were gifted by a gentleman who's passed away with a way of identifying these, putting words to them and being able to identify them when they exist, right? But they've been around forever. This is not new. It's just new terminology. And so things like energy vampire, David, an energy vampire is someone that's vibrating at a frequency that's different than yours. And it's so different. We call it discordant energy. It kind of looks like, look, we all played with magnets when we were kids, right? We tried to push them together and they repelled each other. And we push them together and they'd spin and they'd repel each other.
Hours of fun, that and a slinky.
Yeah, right. So there are people that show up that have a frequency, and this is a genetic frequency. It's like their blood type. It doesn't change. And this is critical to know because there's all kinds of conversation about energy, right? Some people will say energy is everything, and it is. And everything and energy is never lost. It just changes form and moves about. But there are energetic frequencies that are like our blood type. And this is critical because a lot of us are doing relationship surgery and we don't know our blood type and we're killing each other because of it. But let's come back to that energy, so-called energy vampire. So you have two people that have discordant energy. It's repelling each other. And while that's happening, we get worn down. We get tired. So we go to a meeting, we go to a lunch, we're excited to be with someone, and we got plenty of sleep. We had our coffee in the morning or whatever we did. We worked out. We have plenty of energy. We go in, we have lunch, and 5 or 10 minutes into the lunch, we're looking around. We don't have that focus on the person in front of us because it's just something about it is uncomfortable. And by the time that lunch or that meeting's over, we leave or go, oh my God, I'm exhausted. What the heck happened? So I pick up my phone. I call my friend David. We have similar energetic frequencies. We start talking. My energy's back. And I conclude Now, the person I was just with was a vampire. They sucked all the energy out of me and I needed to get away from them. It was not that. It was not them. It was not us. It was both of us. We had two different energetic frequencies bombarding each other that were different, and they were causing us to wear ourselves down. Now, everybody's asking, well, Christ, how do I figure out who that person is? Because I don't want to be around them. Well, the reality is that there's a huge percentage of the population where those people that have that different frequency that can cause us to get worn down are our best friends or our lovers or our children or our parents or the person we work with or who works for us. And we're not getting away from them because they're a relative, or we're not getting away from them because we work with them. We're not getting away with them because they're our kids. We're responsible to them. So what do? We must understand what is going on so that we can accommodate and acknowledge that difference and not call them an energy vampire, or not try to stay away from them because we think that this is the most uncomfortable thing in the world. If we have to be with that person, then we owe it to ourselves and to them to understand what's going on energetically so we can honor that difference and not make it part of a demise of a relationship. Now, is it easy? Sometimes, but most of the times it's a little challenging. It's extra work. David, you and I have the same communication style. We can talk all day long. It's unlikely we'll ever have a miscommunication. We could disagree, and we have, right? We have plenty of disagreements, but misunderstand each other, totally unlikely. I can't even think of a time that that's happened in all the years I've known you. Yet, with some people, there are misunderstandings that happen all the time because we have what we call two different communication styles, right? We basically are talking almost two different languages. It's like Japanese and English, and you only know one of them and not the other. And you're having a conversation and pretending you understand each other. And we can't do that. And it comes back to what kind of we talked about in the beginning. We need to be curious. We need to be willing to want to discover who and what someone is to make a connection with them. We need to be out of judgment. We need to not be looking for proof. We need to be surprised by what we can learn. And if something is confusing or odd to us or doesn't make sense, then for goodness sakes, ask a question. Just ask a question, right? Go deeper. Don't conclude. Don't judge. Because as soon as we judge, it's over, right? You're never going to see someone if you're in judgment.
I want to share something that in about energetics that really works, and Larry said something, we can have conversations for hours. And the beauty is what you're going to see at the end, you're going to be able to know ahead of time who you're dealing with. And you can make choices, or when things come up, you'll be able to know, well, they speak different than me, or they make love different than I want to, which is like, well, what do you mean they make love different? Well, I can tell you, Larry, I've always said, I'm a mental, emotional kind of guy. It's like, I need to be seduced in the mind. It's like, I need those little touches all day. I know exactly who I am, right? And then there are people who just, they just want to have sex right away. It's like unbelievable. Like, I just don't understand how it's like they get on the freeway, or the highway, and you have this little gap to get in to the right lane before it closes, and they gun it, and they're all ready, and they're fine, and they're going 1,000 miles an hour, and they're like, let's have sex. And it's funny, I've been the mental, emotional women. I could have nothing to say to them at all because our communication styles are different, but our physical side is so well connected that I could be with them for months on end and not even care that we're not even communicating in the same language, because energetically we're so connected on one way, but not the other way. And then the physical ones, which I've been with, that style for me, I can't handle them, because it's like, there's no romance. It's like, they just, I just, I don't even want to have sex with them. Like I'm not turned on at all. So people don't understand, like, energetics is every answer to yourself and then every answer to the opposite person. And when you know it, it's almost like it's like dating on an internet site, which I always found like people don't understand. It's like people are writing the superhero version of themselves and what they want, and you don't know how to make a comment on that and immediately have an emotional connection with someone who is literally vomiting stuff out there for you to use, words you can spit back and connect with. But that's a whole other topic, whole other day. But it's unbelievable when you know this. It's like you're given this superhero power to energetically know what you're up with, and you can make a decision and go, do I feel like having to, and you try to explain yourself to them based on who you are, and then they explain themselves. But if they don't understand you, they're not understanding the way you're communicating, and the relationship could have some issues down the road. But it's a major, it's almost like not knowing this and not using it to your advantage. It's almost like, it's like insider trading. It's like getting a tip. You're like Martha Stewart. It's like you knew when the stock was going to go up. I mean,
let's put it in real life perspective, right?
Yeah.
This is simple. I said a few moments ago, I said that people don't know their energetic blood type.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're doing relationship surgery without that information. And imagine you're going into the hospital and you're going to have surgery and you're going to need a transfusion for this surgery. Is the blood type important?
Yeah, slightly,
like your life depends on it. Your life depends on it. You get the wrong blood, you die. Right? So now, as we walk around every day, do we need to know our blood type? No, not till that point where we need surgery, where a transfusion is important. So we're walking around every day. We have our energetic frequencies are vibrating all the time. They are our energetic blood type. When is it important? As soon as you connect with another person, that's when it's important. The moment you connect with another person, it's valuable to have this information because you can use it to support yourself and support them, to connect deeply, to honor them, to acknowledge them, to embrace similarities or even embrace differences. Some people love to do that as well because they understand them so well. But when you have this information, it's not about projecting on someone and saying, you're going to behave a certain way. That's crap. You never want to do that to anybody. Again, that's the proof thing. But if you know what they are and a situation comes up that throws you a little bit sideways, you have that information. So we don't go into a relationship wanting to surgically figure it out without that information. David, I coach people all over the world, mostly couples these days, which I love doing. And they're all over this planet. And the very first thing we do is we run their profiles, not just on them, but on their family, on their kids, on everybody that they're deeply, intimately involved with. And we look at it and we bust all the beliefs that they're holding on to that says this person never listens to me, or, oh my God, I make decisions really quickly and they take forever. What the hell's their problem? I ask them, can you please contribute? Can you do these things? And then they find out energetically that their partner is what we call moderate active. They process information differently. And the moderate active partner finds out that their partner that's so demanding on them is super active, and it's because they're structured and they want information. They want to do it now. They want to do it quickly. They even want me to talk faster like this so I get more words out of my mouth so they can hear me. And those people that are super active listening right now are going, oh, thank God you sped up, right? But that difference, can you work with it? Sure, you can work with it, but you have to be aware of it so you can acknowledge it. If you're not aware of it, again, it's like going in and having surgery and say, oh yeah, just pick whatever bottle of blood you want to use. Let's just take a crapshoot. What the heck? No, it's not worth the risk. It's not worth the risk.
You feel like people are doing that? They're risking, because I mean, there's so many things like, that questions that come up, like, what about if you don't see eye to eye, about spending money, or you used to be sexually aroused and your last failed relationship, or you're a bad lover, and like all these things come in. Of course, have you ever had a relationship that started out hot and steamy and then sex dwindled? And what is chemistry? And you don't see eye to eye about this or that. And it all starts coming to it. And then you start looking at, remember what I told all of you to write down, the relationships you're having with people right now and how you would love to have that relationship with them. Why? Because once again, after the initial pop, everything becomes, well, not as clear because you are not aware of your own blood type. And if you're not aware of your own blood type and you don't know your own blood type, then you don't realize how you're speaking to people. And, the misunderstandings, if you go through the history of it, I'm sure energetically you've had energetic mismatches throughout your entire life.
We all have.
Right? You've blamed it on, well, we just don't see eye to eye and she doesn't really listen. No, she or he doesn't listen. They are listening. They just don't understand the way you're speaking because they don't know that they're different than you. They think people all fit in a box and they don't have a blood type. And because they think people fit in a box, they get frustrated. And then they go to their friends. If I just don't understand, when I tell him something, he just doesn't understand me.
Or he didn't hear me, right?
Doesn't hear me,
Yeah.
or they think it's the other person, when in reality, if you don't know your blood type, you're screwed.
Now let's make this real for someone. Let's what this experience looks like. Everyone will be able to relate to this. At some time or another, you said something to a friend or a beloved, and they didn't hear you. You could have sworn they heard you. They even nodded their head, like they knew you were talking. So they kind of acknowledged that you were talking, but what you said, they didn't really hear.
No.
Okay. And you didn't know they didn't hear you until the next time the situation came up.
I know because I study this. Right. So I look at them. Wait, let me say this before you say something, because I study this and I know my blood type and I know other people's. I will look at things and go, you're not really listening right now. And you know what they'll come back and say to me? Oh, I am listening. I said, no, you're not. You're not listening. You're not hearing how I communicate to you because you're trying to interpret it the way you think. And the fact is, I'm trying to communicate to you that you need to step and pay a little more attention to where we're at here and hear something truly, because we speak differently.
All right, so let's go deeper with this, David. What you're saying is you're on the right path for sure. Mm-hmm. There's another piece that's really critical. So what I was talking about, we've all had that experience, right, where someone didn't feel like they heard us. So here's what happens. There's two different communication types. David and I are both what's called structural. We use words to mean exactly what we want to say. Every word has specific meaning, every single word. Now, we can talk in kind of a monotone and use all those words, and there's plenty of emotion behind them, but some people don't hear them. So another communication style, there's two. The other one's called figurative. The figurative communication style person is emotive. They love to emote, but here's what's really important. They're listening for an emotion. So I can say, David, I really love you. Or I can say, David, we need to take care of this situation because this is not good, right? And David here is not good. Well, not good is something I got to be concerned about. But if I say it like that to someone who's figurative, they might not even pay attention to it because they don't what? They don't hear an emotion. So I have to change how I'm verbalizing something so they get it, which is more like, we need to change this because this is really not good. This is not good. Now, notice what I did. I just put a bunch of emotion into it, more than I normally would. But when I go, this is really not good, then the other person goes, oh my God, he's upset. There's something I have to pay attention to. But if I just go, we need to change this because this is not good, they don't hear it. And it's not that they're not trying to listen to us. They just don't hear it because there's not an emotion driving it. They don't feel the emotion.
Can I add? Can I add? Can I add?
Please.
I got to add to that, okay? Because it's interesting because I've had that dynamic with somebody, and I would literally tell them calmly, like, hey, please don't, please don't do that, and just respect where I'm at, where I feel, right? Okay, and about, I'm very specific about what it is that I need and want in that moment, right? And then I have to repeat myself 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times until finally I lose my shit. Finally, it's like I just, like the steam is coming out of my ears, and I gotta yell.
I have to tell you, right?
Yeah. Right. And I gotta yell
to do that. You don't want to do that,
right? No, and it's not my personality because I'm so, and that's why, you thrive with certain, look, plain and simple, you're going to thrive with certain people who understand you, because it's very frustrating to be around somebody that doesn't hear it until you erupt, and then you tell them, and then you have to, literally look at them and go, well, it's, you do this a lot. And the fact of the matter is it's probably a learned behavior, or, you have to try to rationalize. And it's just like, man, you guys don't speak the same language.
Okay. So people listening are probably going, oh my God, this sounds horrible. Why do I have to do all that work to communicate with someone?
It's life.
It's life. The reality is
that
we don't pick people just because of their energetics. We pick people for a whole variety of reasons. We love the way they look. We like their size, their shape, how they move.
Oh, their smell.
That's the smell. That's their physical attributes, which are a critical ingredient in how we select the people we want to be with. Even in a work environment, look at, if I'm hiring someone to ride my thoroughbred horse, he's not going to be the size of a linebacker. He's going to be a small little light guy, right? Or gal, one of the two. But the key is that we make selections physically, and we make selections based on who someone is, how they were raised, what they believe in, what they're passionate about, what they care about. And so we meet someone and go, oh my God, we have the same likes. We have the same desires. This is incredible. We're like totally on the same page. I love what you're into. This is so cool. And when I look at you, I'm so excited. So now we just pick these two things, which is how most people pick the relationships they want to be in. They look at physical and they look at who, and they go, we're good to go. And guess what? Relationships are not just two legs of a stool. If you're on a stool that has 3 legs and you're only taking 2 of them, guess what you've just done? You are balancing. It's like riding a bike down the road. Everything's great. We're riding the bike. You're riding the bike, and you come to an intersection, you have to stop. No one told you had to put your foot down. You fall on your side. You go, ow, dang, that hurts. Like relationships that all of a sudden throw us sideways. You go, oh man, hurts. That hurts, right? And you get up and you go, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it. Now I know I'm supposed to put my foot down. Right? And you start pedaling again. But then something else throws us off. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen in every single relationship, that who they are and that physical attribute is not enough. You need to know those energetics. That's the third leg. A 3-legged stool with 3 solid legs, you can do jumping jacks on that. You can do cartwheels over it. Are you still going to have some surprises? Hell yes, it's life, right? But you have the foundation you need. You know what you are, what they are, you know who they are, you know what they look like and how they feel and smell. All those things together, you just up-leveled your possibilities for success in whatever level of connection you want to have. And connection is the most important need that every human has. So why don't we do everything we can to maximize the benefit of a connection that we can have? We must do that. So when I ran into genetic energetics, almost 2 decades ago, this was such a huge piece for me that I shifted everything in my life to follow this, because I realized that people must know what this is. We've reached 3 million people now around the world. It feels like I'm only scratching the surface. We need to reach everyone.
It's funny. Remember James Redfield's book, The Celestine Prophecy?
I do.
It's all about energetics. I mean, the whole thing. And And it's funny, he drove around selling the book out of his trunk. It was the 80s. And that book was amazing because it finally gave me, that was the first of my aha moments that energetically, and that's what is interesting. You ever get involved in a relationship with somebody, or you meet somebody and they're really hot, and they're really good looking. Then you meet their significant partner and you're like, whoa, no, no, that person walking in right now, it's like a Shallow Hal moment, that movie, right? That person walking in right now does not fit with that. No, that is not, no way. How? Right? Well,
That's what
and
it seems like, right?
yep,
From
but
your
it's
first
not.
visual.
Right, it's visual. But once you talk to them together, you realize energetics, they knew who they were, they knew their blood type, they were aligned, they met, and both of them became more beautiful. It's like sometimes I'll meet somebody and I'm energetically aligned with them instantly and I know it. And I go out on a date or two, and after 2 dates, I am just, man, they are the most beautiful person I've seen in ages. And tell you the truth, I don't see anything else. I don't see a flaw. I don't see a crooked smile. I don't see anything because energetically, we are just tuned to 98.7 together at the same time. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And that's what I want for everybody here. It's like I want everybody to experience this, this feeling for real, not a feeling that you've created in your mind, not something that you want and desire and you finally give up, because we live in a world that is basically walking around with a cloth on them, just like this. And they're walking around and they're mumbling like a Flintstones conversation. Remember when Wilma would call and you hear ma 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 ma? You can't read somebody's smile anymore. You have to connect to their eyes. And everybody's lonely. They're more lonely than they've ever been, and they've been more controlled than they've ever been, and they've been more on angst. So you need to take this piece of diaper off your face, and you need to start opening your mouth again and understanding people, because that is the only way in today's world that you're going to have an advantage, because people are going to be judging you fast and quick, and you have to know who you're up against and you have to hear it. And once you study energetics, you know that you're talking to somebody who's figurative or structural right away by just the way they describe something immediately. And if you can do that, it could mean greater success with jobs, greater leverage, greater connections with your kids, relationships. When your daughter comes home with her first boyfriend, oh, that moment. And you got to talk to this kid and you know what this kid's thinking. You don't want to admit what he's thinking, but you know what he's thinking because you were 17 at one point, right? So it's like you don't want to hang him, but you want to connect with him. So there's just so many moments. So Larry, tell people, okay? And I told him if we stay around to the end, and you and I could talk about this for hours, but I wanted to keep, and I value all your time, and you guys have been taking a lot of notes, and I don't want to keep you forever because Larry and I can go on a 5-hour talking, but believe me, you'll see in the future once you join us here, okay? And once you get involved with us, there'll be special little, Q&As that we'll do, and we'll get on for 5 hours and we will talk. And you can bring your wife on, your kids on, you can bring your boss with you. I mean, there's so much that can be done. Energetic coaching is something that is really important. So, Larry, tell people what they can get, because you're going to give them something pretty amazing.
Well, we have what we call a profile, right? And the profile is very simple. Like if you're thinking like, oh, is this another Myers-Briggs, or is this another numerology or another astrology type thing? No, it's not. It's unique. And it's identifying the energetic frequencies you vibrate at. It's breaking them down very simply into communication. You heard us talk a little bit about it. Activity level. You heard me when I sped up real quick and started talking quickly to tell you everything that you needed to know like this, versus when I talk normally, which is more like this. Right? There's more to it. There's more detail with all of those. So there's activity level, then there's financial logic. It's the energetics we have around money, which is why money comes really easy for some and how we can sabotage it for others. So that relationship with money. Then there's sexual response type. This is huge.
Huge.
Huge. With communication, sexual response type, those two are the most critical. But sexual response type, I'll tell you right now, 90% of relationships that are not matched sexually, energetically, don't make it. They do not survive. 90% do not survive
How many times have I tried?
Unless they know what that difference is. If they know the difference, they can work with it. It's not simple, but it is doable. And for the right person, it's well worth it. But if you don't know it, it will blow up. It won't survive. The statistics are not pleasant, right?
Larry told me over and over again, you know, she's physical sexual response type. No worries.
David goes, I'm great with a physical sexual response type woman. I go, yeah.
I am. I'm great with it. But to tell you the truth, I'm great with it. I can live with it. And I can be with it because I can explain who I am, you know, my mental, emotional, right? But when I'm really aligned with somebody who's the same as me, there's nothing like it. So, but I'm not going to discount a relationship with a great person because they speak a different language, or when they go to Whole Foods, I can tell them I'm going to Whole Foods and Walmart, I'll be home in 15 minutes. And I come home with like $100 of groceries and I was home in 15 minutes. And they go to Walmart and Whole Foods. And, you know, I look at the clock and go, I'll see them in 3 hours, right? Because they got lost. So am I going to hang somebody, you know, and get rid of them because they're not what I need or desire, my perfect energetic match? No, because I'm going to communicate and I understand how to communicate it to them. So I'm able to make it work because I have the power, because I have absolutely looked at so many profiles.
Right. So the key is, David, what you're saying so clearly, so succinctly is, look at we all have similarities and differences. We have lots of reasons why we get together. Some people are so spectacular, we want them in our lives deeply. We want to be beloveds with them. We see them as mates for the rest of our lives, but there's differences if we want to succeed sexually, communication. If we want to evolve, we want to grow, we want to really be joyful and prosperous in our relationship, then we need to know what they are so that we can embrace that when it becomes something that's important to us. It's that simple. It's that simple. We need to do this with people, whether it's energetics or it's something that they're passionate about. It's called honoring, right? It's called acknowledging. So back to what we're giving them, we have communication style, we have activity level, we have the financial logic, we have sexual response type. We identify chemistry. Yeah, that's right. This is the only scientific program in the world that has the ability to tell you who you're going to have chemistry with. And we can go down a whole 2 hours just talking about chemistry. We're not going to do that now. But the point is, chemistry are drugs. It's brain drugs. It's taking you off into that place where you're wearing rose-colored glasses. Like everything is so wonderful. It helps us understand what it is, how to accommodate for it, how to understand it when it's there, when it's true, when it's false. We're going to give you that information. And then we have 6 what we call modifiers. And these are critical personality characteristics that are energetically driven, that influence how we evaluate, how we show up, how we actively work with each other. There are people that are very psychic naturally. There are people that are what we call achievers, that just, they get shit done, but they also hate to be interrupted, and they get interrupted all the time because people don't understand what they are. But when they know what they are and they can accommodate for that, when they realize it, it's absolutely luxurious. It's awesome. It's exciting. It's inspiring. What do you want? Do you want conflict? Do you want challenge? Do you want difficulty? Do you want sadness? Do you want to feel broken? Do you want to, all these things, I'm not calling them love, I'm calling these actions, I'm calling these behaviors. Do you want behaviors that lift you up, that give you possibility, or you want things that set you down and flop you down and sit on you like you can't do anything? What do you want? We know the answer to that. You want that possibility. So this is providing an understanding that enhances that possibility. That's what it is. And you can get the basic information for free. We have a profile you can get for free that'll tell you what you are. But what I really invite you to do is go deeper. If you have a relationship that is important to you, then we have another product that's called a romance report that takes any two people and goes into detail and shows you what you are and how to work with those differences and how to embrace those similarities. This is a report that's anywhere from 38 pages to 93 pages long. Hopefully you don't get the 93-page report, because that is a complex relationship and takes a lot of work.
Took a lot of time and effort to put that report together too.
Took years.
Yeah.
It took years. So this report is available to you, and we've done something very, very special that we're doing for just a limited time. David thinks I'm crazy for doing this, but
Well, Larry, let's I thought you were crazy, because remember, what did you used to charge just to run a profile? Let's say they get a free profile themselves, but then they want to run a profile for their uncle and their aunt and everybody they're dealing with. They want to run 10 profiles, and then they want to run a romance report with their wife, and then they want to run one. Oh, wait a second. Then they want to run a French, report to see how they can deal with their boss better and all this other stuff. I mean, how much, this is when you and I talked about the price. I was like, what you're about to offer people, and look, people, you stay to the end on this because it's going to blow you away, because I've seen people pay a lot more. Each report was how much, Larry?
the report was $47.
Was. So if you even if you ran 5 of them, you're talking over $200, but you're not going to run 5, because once you run 5, you're going to run another 5, right? And then all of a sudden you're going to want the person that you're with to run. She's going to want to run something on her grandmother, and then she's going to wonder how she can have a better relationship with her sister. And the next thing you know, you're 30 reports in, and I didn't mind. Larry told me like 30 reports, because that's about the average that people run once they go into this and once they start understanding this. I said, Larry, that's $1,500. I mean, that's fantastic. You deserve, for putting in all this time and energy and effort. And not only that, to come up with everything so it works so perfectly, so it's understanding. I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of hours have been put into each report. It's like, you deserve $1,500. And then Larry looks at me and says, but I want to reach more people. And that's when we kind of started putting our brains together. If we can reach more people, especially now that people need to understand each other better than ever in this world we're living in, the Twilight Zone world that we're living in right now, I said, let's come up with something, because then we're going to want to give back to the community that purchases this package. We're going to want to then get on another, Zoom call with them. We're going to want to get some type of coaching with them and helping them out, because this is what we are all about. We're about giving love and helping people, because we've been around on this planet a long time. We have a lot of wisdom and knowledge from our own experiences together. So, Larry, when you put this together, I thought you were nuts, but now the more I think about it, I want people who are still here right now, I want people to take advantage of this, because I think it's the best bargain I've seen in a long time. So tell them what it is and what they're getting.
What they're getting is the ability to run what we call our energetic romance reports. And I know they're called romance reports, so don't let that mess with your head too much. Definitely is awesome for your beloved, but you use it for your kids, use it for your parents, use it for those people you work with, you use it for your best friends, all of these things. You get this report that puts you and this other person together in the report and explains to you what you're experiencing energetically and what you are. So you get to look at it. You're going to know what you are after a while. Once you run the first one about yourself, you get to know. But when you see how it describes how you relate or interact with another person energetically, then it begins to blossom. So that report by itself is $47. But what we're doing for a very, very limited time is we're offering a lifetime unlimited access to those reports.
Wow, wait, lifetime, not just a year. We're talking lifetime. So even if you're married, great. If you're single, imagine, well, you could do this with every single date that you go on. And let's say, you average 5 dates every 2 months. Okay. You could just run, that's 20, it could take you 100 people to find somebody great. You can run 100 reports. It used to be $47. My math is right. 100 times $47 a share is 4,700. Well, I don't trade stocks often. It's $4,700. I mean, that's a lot.
You haven't even dealt with your family or your friends,
No.
right? So, and that's just that 47. The reality is that if we put the numbers on it, the value is so ridiculously high. I did this with our marketing team, and they went, it's like $28,000. And I went, that doesn't even make sense to people. It's too high a figure, because all we're charging is $197. One time, $197. And not only does that get you the reports, it gets you into a membership program. It's our premium level membership program. It's the highest level of our membership program. So not only does it include the reports, it includes a library that keeps track of every profile you've ever run. And you can go in and search and find it. You can look for your friends who are structural. If you're single and you're going, wow, I ran a whole bunch of personal energetic profiles, and each one I'm wondering, oh, who is that guy? Who is that guy who is just like me? And you can go in and search for this, for whatever your profile is, find the match and find that person and find the date you get it and immediately retrieve it in our library. It's
wow,
accessible through this membership. Plus, we have podcasts, the Love Matters podcast, which is my podcast. I have interviews that I've done that have not been released to anyone in the world. And they are inside this membership site. There are webinars we're going to do talking about chemistry, talking about how do you work with two people that have two different communication styles. All the support you can imagine is going to show up inside this membership site. And guess what? By the way, I don't think that we're the end all to be all when it comes to everything you need for relationships. I am constantly studying other things. This is why I love what David does. I love what Allison Armstrong does. I love what a number of other people in our industry do. And we are going to make their work accessible as well. Right.
And this is a lot, and it's something that, and not only that, not only another bonus they get, I mean, we'll even alert members when you and I go on a tangent.
Absolutely.
Larry and I, when I lived in California, and just hang out, we'll give you the link in a second. The link is down below too, if you want to cheat right now. The link is down below. If you don't want to hear the final couple of minutes, if you want to hang on for the last couple of minutes, I'll share something very funny. Larry and I, when we both lived in California, we would be these late night talks. We would get on the phone around 11 o'clock at night, and after about 5 or 6 minutes, we immediately go deep. And after 5 or 6 minutes, this is when I was recording everything. I mean, the amount of stuff I recorded and put on YouTube, and this is funny because if I was now and younger and YouTube hit the way it's been hitting, I was one of the first on YouTube, right? I would have like millions and millions of subscribers on YouTube. I was way early before people sat around and watched other people 24/7.
You were so prolific.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable. I would copy talk everything, blog post everything. And it was an amazing feeling. And I liked it a lot. I mean, I loved it. And Larry and I would have this great conversation. I'd be, Larry, let's record this. It's a product, right? It's
we must have done that a dozen times.
A dozen times. So, if I can find these, we will put them in the membership program as well. But when we have this idea, you can be involved in it, and we'll let you ask questions as well, because these impromptu conversations are what is really binding. Because when you buy something from most people, and I don't care what you're spending, most people will put you on some automatic program. You'll spend $6,000 on coaching, and you won't ever get to talk to the people. It's just a recorded video for an hour and a half, and it's just the way people have been doing things, right? Larry and I like to hear your comments. We love to hear what you're going through, and we love to share our own stories. So there's so much in there. Hey, listen, there's a link.
You asked, and we'll come up. We will respond. We will respond with the information you want.
We will. So they got the link down below in the bio, right?
Yep.
The link is down below. The link is in the email that you guys got to get on this. If you're watching this on YouTube, The link is in the bio. Anything, Larry, else you wanna add, or are we good and we enlightened enough tonight?
Wow. You know what? I'm going to do something bold.
Okay.
I'm going to also give people my email address.
Okay.
It's Larry M at the Four Answers. Four is spelled out, FOUR, at thefouраnswers.com. If you have a question, send it. If you're not certain whether this is the right thing for you, listen to this again first, and then send a question. We'll support you however we can. The key here is that I said we've reached 3 million people. To me, it's a really small figure when I think the whole world, every living, breathing human can benefit from having this information. So our goal is to get to as many people as we can and create the most profound, healthiest, loving connections that are possible. And you right now have the possibility to be part of that momentum, to create that, to help that happen, starting with you, with your own relationships. Your chance to go from what you thought was broken and impossible to absolutely possible, never frickin' broken, where love exists and the possibilities for quality relationships, conscious, evolving, emergent, authentic, vulnerable, intimate relationships are there for you. And they're there right now.
Just take advantage of that link. I love it, man. Larry, this was awesome. I can't wait to enlighten more people. And like I said, this is a killer deal, folks. $197 unlimited, all the beautiful benefits Larry mentioned. I mean, you can't be any more authentic than this. And I want you to live a powerful, authentic, real life. Larry, thank you, man, for joining me today and enlightening people.
Thank you, David. I really appreciate your support over all these years and your friendship. I love you, brother.
I love
Really.
you too, man.